Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to a sprint watch-along. Yes, we discussed it between us, didn't we, if you were there, in testing, maybe doing the watch-alongs for sprint weekends and maybe the odd Grand Prix or qualifying, we'll see, but definitely for sprints. So here we are, first one of the season, new format as well, which is very exciting. What did we reckon? I've put the poll in the chat. I've given you your options, averaging from great to good, okay, average, meh, throw them in the bin. Let me know what you think. I'm very much of the opinion that I was of on Tuesday, where I feel like they're just sort of fine. There's nothing, in my opinion, wrong with them, but I wouldn't be too fussed if they disappeared tomorrow, to be honest. We'll get into that properly in a minute, but let me know your thoughts in chat. Usual caveats at the start of the stream. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. It'll be great to have you with us for the rest of the season, and drop a like as well. Always appreciated. Obviously, no on-track footage because copyright law exists, but we have got live timing provided by Eredito, who's sat in my dining room again, dog sitting and updating live timing as we go. We'll have a running order, but not necessarily the gaps, but I can give you those as the race goes on. And if you want to support the channel, you can do through all the usual stuff. Super Chats, PayPal, Streamlabs, Carrier Pigeon, I don't know, whichever you want to. But we'll get through this. Lots of chat together. It won't be like a really bad commentary either. We are just going to hang out this Saturday afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are, and just watch a bit of Formula One and have a chat. It's going to be short, 17 laps, around about half an hour. Possible safety cars, possible red flags as well. So we'll see how that impacts things. I don't know. I can't remember what it's got to be done within an hour, hasn't it? Something like that. Or I haven't checked the rules. I should have done that before I went live, really. But we won't be here for all afternoon, but a good hour and a half. So yes, it's been an interesting weekend so far. We had Gasly on fire and then crashing. You know, best way to thank your mechanics for rushing to get your car ready for qualifying is to stick it in the wall pretty much straight away. Yuki Tsunoda was in the wall as well. We've had Leclerc in the wall today, but still took P1 for the sprint. We'll go through the grid properly in a moment. It is on screen now, the order they'll start, but I'll go through it with you in a moment as the cars are lining up on the grids. Aston Martin, a little bit concerned about them. I'll tell you why ever so shortly. But yeah, let's talk about the sprint this morning, the sprint qualifying or shootout or whatever they're calling it. I'm not sold, honestly, on what they've done, because I kept an open mind, as I said I would on Tuesday, and my big problem is we had qualifying yesterday, and then, 17, 18 hours later, we're having exactly the same again, but shorter. And with a really weird tyre rule that meant that we lost Lando Norris in Q3 because he couldn't go out because he hadn't got any new softs left because he used them in the qualifying session that really matters. So I'm not sold on it. I don't think it works because it set the grid for the sprint, but it just doesn't flow properly still. I'm not quite sure. And somebody made a great suggestion in the comments too. I think it was either the preview or the sprint video last week where they said maybe we need to have FP1 on a Friday morning, sprint qualifying on Friday afternoon, sprint race Saturday morning, and then Grand Prix qualifying on Saturday afternoon. That way you still get your 3 days of action with the Grand Prix on Sunday, of course, but that way you build up through the weekend. So you have FP1, which is important, but not massively important. And then sprint quali, which matters for the sprint and nothing else. Then the sprint, so the jeopardy increases as the weekend goes on. So I think that would work better than what we have at the moment, or what they've decided to bring in this weekend. It just doesn't feel... Oh, how can I... It feels a bit cut and shut, if you know what that means. A little bit stop-start. Good afternoon, John T. Good to see you. Yeah, I'd be interested to know. I've not seen you on Twitter, actually, what you think about the sprint twist or the sprint format. You'll have to let me know. But that's just how I feel. I think that would work better. I doubt they'll do it. A, it's probably too much common sense, and B, they could probably get more money for... But I feel for... If you're at a racetrack, qualifying on a Friday is great. If you work or you're at school, qualifying at 2:30 or 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon isn't really great. And I know in the UK, don't know where it is where you are, they don't show sprint weekend qualifying highlights on Channel 4. So if you've got no other way of watching it, I mean, there's YouTube, but if you've got no other way of watching it, then you're kind of going to miss out on that. And I think that's not really working, but I don't think that's what they're thinking. I think they're thinking ticket prices at Grand Prix more than anything. Ryan says, I won't do that. Would put sprint race at like 2 a.m. in America. That's true. But having said that, they don't seem to worry too much about US time with I mean, even races in the US at times, but certainly not in the UK. Across the rest of the world, they just seem to stick them where they need to. So it's a fair point. I mean, they will think about the audiences everywhere, won't they? But yeah, I'm not being negative. I'm not trying to be negative about it. And I know that I'm in a small minority where I'm not going to just pan them because that's the popular thing to do. I'm keeping an open mind on sprints. And as I said in the video on Tuesday, I'm fine with them. They're okay. They're fine, whatever. And as I said in the reaction after Australia, if we keep them, which I think they look like they're staying, but if they stay forever, then okay, that's fine. And if they get rid of them, then okay, that's fine. I'm always going to prefer a proper normal race weekend because that's what I've watched for 30 years. So I'll be honest, that's what it is. It's what I prefer, but I'm not totally against sprints. I know there are some people out there who really bloody hate them. Really hate them. And I think it's racing at the end of the day. It does feel a bit of an odd session, doesn't it? Because this doesn't mean anything, really. Yes, there are 8 points for the win, down to 1 point for 8th place, but how does that help? Let's look at the grid. A Yuki Tsunoda today. Doesn't, does it? So we've got Logan Sargent, who's not in the race, by the way. Get to that in a second. He was saying yesterday, I think, or Thursday, that basically drivers down the back end of the grid will just treat this as a practice or a test session race. And that's not what we want. We don't want that. So we'll see what they do. I think it'll get tweaked. One thing I would definitely change, if they're not going to change the format as such, get rid of that tyre rule in qualifying, maybe tweak it a little bit, because it seems daft to me that Lando Norris, yes, it's the same for everybody, but it seems silly to me that we've got this big shootout in Q3 that they're trying to build hype for, and then your driver can't go out because he's got no new sets. I know it's how they're trying to manage the tyre allocation and things like that, but there's probably another way around it. It's a bit weird. I don't like that. But, I mean, I've seen a lot of it. I've said it as well. It is an obvious statement. It's much better than a Parc Ferme FP2 session. The problem is pretty much anything is better than a Parc Ferme FP2 session. And just because it's better than doesn't necessarily mean it's working or it's right. We'll find out. If we've got 6 of these this season, maybe with a few tweaks, we can properly review it after that. But if there's no session this afternoon, then a qualifying session is better than no session, if you see what I'm saying. So it's not really a great comparison, because there are a lot of things better than practice sessions. And I know practice sessions aren't supposed to be entertaining. They're literally not, but they are for the teams to practice. So I know a lot of people do enjoy practice. I mean, FP3 on a normal weekend, I really can't be bothered with, if I'm being honest. I think that's such an annoying session, and I don't even know why. It just always has bothered me, but there we go. I was going to say as well, before we look at the grid and talk about Logan Sargent and Esteban Ocon in particular, and then my concerns for Aston Martin. Apparently, I've seen a lot of it, and I see it on, I think Karun Chandok's been positive about it on Twitter, and he's been quite saying, this is good, we enjoy this, and a lot of people having a pop at him. I've even been accused of being paid off by Formula One to say, sorry, it's so funny. If I've been paid off by Formula One, very much like if I've been paid off by the Strolls, I probably wouldn't be sat here doing this right now. I'd be doing something out and about in the real world, because apparently there's an outside, but we'll get onto that another day. Apparently I've been paid off by F1. Now, if I were in Formula One's position and I'd paid a creator to make a video that was a glowing review of sprints, and that creator put a video out where they describe sprints as just fine, I'd want my money back. So to that person, little bit of common sense, listen to what I've said and then go, would they pay him to say that it was fine? No, they wouldn't. So engage brain, it works for most people, but we'll not get into that one. Sean's in one of them moods. Let's have a look. Logan Sargent first. So Williams, if you missed a session this morning, which I think a few people did, but if you missed a session this morning, he stuck the car in the wall at turn 15, the exit of turn 15. Quite a hefty smash. Williams have had the car back. Obviously, they've assessed it. They do not believe they can get that repaired for the sprint. So they requested from the FIA, can we withdraw from the event? The sprint race. They have withdrawn from the sprint. So Logan Sargent will not start, hence the WD next to his name there on the timing screen. So he will not race this afternoon, which, to be honest, it's a pain that the reason they're in that position, because they've got to fix the car ready for tomorrow. They've got plenty of time to do it, to be fair. But at the same time, is that really going to destroy Williams' day? Probably not. Good qualifying from both the Williams drivers. Albon up in 7th place, for goodness sake, but probably might head backwards. Although quite a slippery car, that Williams, so maybe not. But there could have been a shot of points today from Sargent, but I don't feel like that was likely. We'll never know. We'll never know. As for Esteban Ocon, because of the various problems that Alpine have had over the weekend, God, have they had some problems. He has been taken out of Parc Ferme. His car has been taken out of Parc Ferme, so he has to start the sprint from the pit lane. If I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't even bother sending him out other than to do some checks to make sure things are working. And then he's got to start the race from the pit lane as well, because any breach of Parc Ferme is pit lane start for sprint and race on a sprint weekend. Not good. Not good. What? It's because I predicted them best of the rest this weekend, isn't it? Thanks, Alpine. You've destroyed it. Terrible weekend so far. But let's have a look at the grid overall, and then I'll sort of talk about Aston Martin. We've got about 15 minutes till lights out, for anybody wondering. Half an hour, I think I said, didn't I? 17 laps, 30 minutes. So, Charles Leclerc, pole position, or P1, whatever we're calling it, on the starting grid for the sprint. That's his second pole position of the weekend, and his 4th in Baku in a row. There you go. Sergio Perez joins him on the front row, with Max Verstappen in 3rd place and George Russell in 4th, making up row 2. Carlos Sainz is 5th, Lewis Hamilton in 6th place, with Alex Albon 7th. Brilliant qualifying from him. Fernando Alonso 8th and Lance Stroll 9th. They've been having DRS issues all weekend, or certainly during qualifying. I'll get to that in a moment. Lando Norris, 10th, as I mentioned earlier. Points, remember, for the sprint from P1 to P8. 8 for P1, 1 for P8. 11th, Oscar Piastri. 12th is Nico Hülkenberg. Magnussen's been bumped up to 13th, following Ocon having to start from the pit lane show. 14th, Bottas in 15th in the second Alpha. Yuki Tsunoda, who I think starts 7th or 8th tomorrow in the race proper. Fantastic result for him. Is 16th today. Pierre Gasly, 17th. Nick de Vries, 18th. As I say, Esteban Ocon will start from the pit lane, and Logan Sargent has withdrawn. Yes. Or Williams have withdrawn him. Seems like fair. What are you guys saying in chat before I get onto my little Aston Martin moment? What did Jonty say? The Friday quali is all right, so long as it's at the best time for coverage. What time that is, I don't know. Yeah, 9:30 this morning in the UK seemed a bit. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say they missed it, which, I mean, go to the F1 website. The timings are there, but 9:30 in the morning is very much, for me at least, blurry-eyed. What the hell's happening? What time is it? What's going on? 9:30 for me is the middle of the night. I'm a content creator, for goodness sake. So it's basically like being a student. So yeah, no, that could do have been a little bit. The sprints in Europe, they tend to be. I mean, I'm not going to get into the argument, by the way. Azerbaijan, Baku, Europe, not Europe. I don't want to do that, because I'll just mess it up and not explain it properly. But in Europe proper, let's say. So let's say if we had a sprint in Belgium, which we will have later this year, they tended to be a little bit later in the afternoon, didn't they? Whereas qualifying on Friday was 2 o'clock, so that's not really a great time for a European audience, for example. The sprint this afternoon, it feels a little bit earlier than usual. I'm sure they used to be sort of 4, 5-ish. I don't know if that's just I suppose Baku generally earlier because of the time zone, isn't it? So that's probably why, sunset and things like that, but it just feels a little bit out of whack today. I'm also not sure that Baku is the best place for a sprint, unless what you love, if you love F1 crashes and you love utter chaos, this is the perfect weekend for a sprint. If you enjoy racing rather than just crashing, then it seems like a bit of an odd one, especially in the era of the cost cap. How much does this weekend cost Alpine, do we reckon? It's a bit more than £6.50, isn't it? It's a lot of money. A lot of money that Alpine have spent. Jimmy says, oh my God, Alpine troubles are almost cringe. It's just not worked for them. And they've got so many updates. New floor, bits of bodywork, some other bits. They've got more coming in Miami, more in Imola as well. So really frustrating, because they've looked, when they've been able to show their pace, they've had good pace. They've looked quite pacey. I love the word pace. That's what I'm going to go with. There's a yellow flag apparently on track. I don't know why. I assume it's marshals out there doing something. So it's a bit frustrating that they've not been able to demonstrate that pace because of all the problems they've been having. There we go. FD30 says he's back. Yes, I am back. Hello. Race reaction tomorrow, don't forget. I need to double check with him. If he's here, I don't know if he's listening. If he is listening on the off chance, if I haven't messaged you, Will, by this evening, please message just to check everything's okay for tomorrow and remind me. So I should have Will with me tomorrow for the reaction. Again, I'll be solo for the reaction in Miami, I think, because that's quite a late one. That's me getting on for midnight here in the UK, and I'm not going to ask anyone else to stay up unless I can find somebody from t'other side of the world, and then maybe we'll get somebody on. But yeah, race reaction tomorrow. We're not really doing these all the time. They're just going to be for the sprints, and then maybe we'll throw the odd qualifying one in every now and again for something like Monaco, where qualifying really matters. For example, still cheaper than the double DNF in Australia for Alpine. Absolutely. I say it's been a messy weekend. It's been a messy, if you sort of push the weekends together, it's probably been a messy 2 or 3 hours, hasn't it, for Alpine? Not great at all. Was it gearbox, says Max. I will double check for you on the Alpine fit. I don't think Alpine specified. I will read the tweet when Twitter loads, because apparently Twitter now runs absolutely ridiculously slowly for me. I don't know if it's the same for everybody. I can't think what the problem is. I could have a guess, but let's just see. So they did tweet somewhere. The team has taken car 31, that's Esteban Ocon, out of part firm conditions, meaning Esteban will start today's sprint race and tomorrow's Azerbaijan Grand Prix from the pit lane. No word from them on what it is, and I don't think the FIA have the document out to say yay or nay as to what it is. Generally, that'll be after the session. So if it is a gearbox, let me know. I just saw a great comment I wanted to read, and I bet I can't find it now. This always happens to me. Always happened. Max says they gambled on not being an SQ3. Was that McLaren? Possibly thinking of there. I'm not sure. Every time... I won't read that, actually, no. Oh, well, I started it, so I'm there now, aren't I? I'm committed. Every time Leclerc crashes on pole, he fakes an accident to avoid the Red Bulls to overtake him in quali. I'll be honest, I'm not pretending there's a big conspiracy theory, and I know you're being tongue-in-cheek there. I did think it. I was like, oh, that's awfully convenient, isn't it? There you go. Let's... what was I going to do? Yeah, Aston Martin, what to talk about. That was it. We got there in the end. So, very quickly, because we're not far from lights out now, about 8 minutes. So, they've been having lots of DRS problems. Lots. And really smart play from Alonso and Aston Martin today to give Lance Stroll that toe. I think it was in Q2 to get through to Q3. Really smart move, because that helped sort of offset that a little bit. So, I was impressed by that. Seems like an obvious thing to do, but in the heat of qualifying, not always thinking quite that quickly, some people, it feels like. But great decision for them to do that. The problem is, without DRS, so today, for this race only, not for the race tomorrow, for this race only, the DRS will be activated at the end of the first racing lap. So we're not waiting to the end of lap 2. It will be on the second lap. They can use their DRS. So Alonso and Stroll, if they've not fixed that problem, Aston Martin, they will be sitting ducks, and I can only see them. Sorry, Alonso, Stroll fans and Aston Martin fans, I can only see them going backwards from 8th and 9th on the grid, because unless they can break that DRS to Norris super quickly, maybe use each other's toe as best they can, then they're just going to go backwards, because I can't see... I mean, have shortened the DRS zone by 100 metres, so that might bail them out, but it's certainly going to be tough for them, I guess, and I don't see them moving too far forward. We shall see. I might be wrong. You watch Alonso win it now from 8th. But I'm not. I'll keep an eye out. We'll see if they fix the DRS. I've not seen anything from the team to say that absolutely they have fixed it or they haven't. We will see at the end of the first lap whether or not that is opened or not. But we are 7 minutes away from lights out. That's my big concern is what's going to happen with them and how soon, if they don't get it working. Just checking to see if they have tweeted anything to say their problems have been fixed. I wouldn't have thought they would have, but we'll see. I'll keep an eye on Twitter in case we get anything from your journos on the ground, your Luke Smiths and your Chris Medlands, for example. Maybe they will say something. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, that's my concern. My concern for Aston Martin. And if you're Aston Martin, you haven't got it fixed, and let's say they drop down to P15, 16 pretty quickly, at what point do you pull them out of the race and think about the long term? Because they're in a proper fight for a top 3 here. I don't like having to talk about this, by the way. Cars pulling out because there's nothing on the table. Or at least get them to look after the cars as much as possible and use it as a bit of a test session. Yeah, I'd like an Alonso win as well, Lee. I'm confident that Alonso will win a race this season. It's going to come down to how quickly everybody else develops, of course, because they've got a hell of a fight on it. It looks like Ferrari are back for this weekend at least, although Leclerc not quite so positive about the races, which is fair enough, especially where they were. I'm afraid, NRG Spike. I can't show the race because of, obviously, copyright law. They'll tear me apart. And although I'm pretty confident, to be really, really pessimistic with everybody here, I'm pretty confident the channel is dying. Even though it is dying, I've still spent 6 years building this up to where it is, and I don't want F1 to come along and take it down. So, yeah, no footage, unfortunately. Believe me, if I had the money to buy the rights and show you it all on YouTube for free, I absolutely really would. Or if I had the money to buy Manchester United, I might go and buy Manchester United, or both. Let's do both. Screw it. I'm rich. Not. There you go. You've tuned into a sprint watch along, and Sean's buying Manchester United and F1 rights. There you go. It's easy money. It's easy money. When's it starting? Yeah, 6 minutes, in fact 5 minutes, because the music is about to start, so I better put my headphone in so I can hear Crofty going, as he does. Nothing against Crofty, just it's how I hear him sometimes. Baku circuit crashes. I love this track, says Kaziu. A lot of people love Baku, and actually, yeah, that's the other news. The music kicks in. Boom, 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 boom. Baku's on the calendar until at least the end of 2026. That's been confirmed today. So Baku is staying, which is great news, because I do love it. I know it's chaotic. I know it is. But yeah, look, I'm glad it's staying. We'll say as well, before we get into this, I'm going to be turning to face my TV, so I'll be chatting along and watching it with you. As XPB update their images from the race, I will try and put some in the stream, so it's not just the ones from sprint qualifying. If they don't, or if I can't do it, then we'll just have to manage with that. But I think most of us will be watching the TV anyway. That's the idea of a watch-along after all, and keeping an eye on the live timing. So if I can get some images in, I will. If I forget, forgive me, or if the PC won't let me, forgive. I've got a lot of things going on on these screens. Also, not sure about this remix. Have you heard the remix of the F1 theme that they're playing for sprint weekends? I'm not sure. I think it's a remix. It sounds like it's there. I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure. Sir Kenchalot says, Baku sucks as a venue. Buildings are too tall for helicopter shots to work. That track's good though, isn't it? And I know for us as viewers, helicopter shots are important. But I think as a track, it's quite fun. Sean, could you say when the cars go for the formation lap, I'd like to synchronise? Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do then. Vashek? I think sometimes I get your name right. Sometimes I get it really wrong, so I'm sorry. You know me. I'm British. Our pronunciation is not the best. Yes, I will let you know when I go on the formation lap. What I'll also do is I'll count down the lights as they come on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anyone who wants to sync up with me can do. Don't forget, I'm not going to do my Poundland Crofty impression. Well, I'm not at this stage. We'll see where we end up. It sometimes just happens and I can't help it. I sometimes do it when I'm sat watching the race on my own. It's a symptom of, or it's a result of having spent my entire life watching Formula One on my own. So I find myself saying things to the other me who isn't here, which makes me sound a little bit mental, actually. I'm sorry. Sometimes talking to myself, going, this is ridiculous. I can't believe he just made that move, and arguing with myself. But hey, there we are. Have you thought about setting up a Patreon? I have a Patreon, John. I can't remember how many patrons. That's a great question, actually. I should know that. My Patreon, they're all unpatreoning now. How dare you not remember me? But yeah, I have got a Patreon. I've got a few. I've got 37 supporting the channel long term. So thank you to all of those, as always. It's massively appreciated, especially at the moment. Things are tough at home financially, so that's massively appreciated. It's helping to keep the channel afloat at the moment. Before I have to end up inevitably back at Aldi or somewhere like that. But yes. Oh, what a depressing start to the stream. Let's just have a run through the grid then one more time for those that are coming in. It is on screen, but I like my grid graphics, so we'll do it. They're just about set off on the formation lap. Leclerc on pole from Perez, Verstappen and Russell. They are your first two rows. Don't forget DRS end of the first lap, so that could be really interesting with that super powerful Red Bull DRS. Sainz is 5th, Hamilton 6th, and Albon is in 7th. Alonso and Stroll 8th and 9th for Aston Martin, with Lando Norris in 10th. It is 11th place for Piastri, 12th for Hulkenberg, 13th for Magnussen, 14th for Zhou, 15th for Bottas, 16th for Tsunoda, 17th for Gasly, 18th for De Vries. Ocon starts in the pit lane and Sargent has withdrawn because of damage. And that's all perfect timing because they are... This is for Vashek. This is all for you. This is all for you, mate. They're on their formation lap. The light has gone green. So there we go. RRTV says, I predict a Norris win or Alonso win. Ooh, spicy. I like that. You can come again. You can all come again, but you certainly can with predictions like that. We love it. Great stuff. Yes, they are on their formation lap. So here we go. And thoughts with Eru, who has to try and update that timing screen across the first 2 laps of a sprint, which is about the most chaotic point of the whole afternoon. So I thought Lando and Yuki were not in the sprint due to not having fresh, soft tyres. They're on the grid now. Yeah, so that was just for the Q3 shootout, Quinn. So Norris didn't have any fresh softs, so he couldn't do the third part of qualifying, the SQ3 or whatever they're calling it, because you have to use new softs in the final session. So he can race, but he couldn't... If he got through to the top 10, he couldn't take part in the final part of qualifying, if that makes sense. And Yuki didn't get there, but if he had, he would have been in the same position. Can you give me updates so I can sync my F1 TV feed with you, says David? Yep, they are coming up to the castle section now. I'll tell you. Oh, come on, Charles, get on with it when he turns in. So he's just turned into the castle section now. You know the bit I mean, where they just got that really twisty hill bit that always looks like they're going to crash. Makes me wince every single time on board. 332 have joined us for this impromptu stream, so thank you so much. Please do drop a like if you're here. Let's get this well. In fact, see if we can even hit the viewer number in likes. It's unlikely, but let's try it. You never know. You never know. Yes, John, I should advertise it more, the Patreon. I really should. So I will try and remember to do that. I will try. Alonso win for sure. Who have you got then? Go on then. Who have you got? One name in the chat. Who are you going for the win? I'm going to go with Verstappen because already my predictions have taken a battering from Thursday, so I need to try and stick to those. So I'll stick with Verstappen. Past Perez into turn 1. Past Leclerc by the end of lap 2 with DRS. There you go. I'd love a Leclerc win today and tomorrow. Nothing against Red Bull, but I would love to see Ferrari really turn their season around. That'd be fantastic. Not been the best start, has it, for Ferrari, generally? So I don't know where this has come from. I don't know if this is coincidental or whether they have really found something in the spring break. I don't know if it's track-specific, if it's just a coincidence we had the break and they found this, or everything's just clicked into place. I don't know. I love your channel up there with the best F1 content channels. Thank you so much, Is it G-Mark? Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that one. Going to be bold and say Hamilton, says Ash. Yeah, Kempy says Verstappen sets the car up for race conditions and it lets his talent qualify. Cameron says Alonso will cause chaos. Interesting. What else have we got? Perez for Cryptes. Checo for back 9. Andrew's gone Perez. David's gone Charles. Cassa's gone Checo. Yeah, good point. Let's hope Checo doesn't hit the wall again. Right, here we go. I think they're going for broke. Pole is worth more to Ferrari than 10 blown engines. I guess the only way you've got any hope of beating Red Bull is to be in front of them, isn't it? I know it sounds obvious. You got to cross the line before them if you want to beat them. But I mean, the best way to beat Red Bull at the moment is to get pole if you can on the Saturday and then try your best to keep behind on Sunday or hope for some chaos or some clever strategy, I suppose. So, yeah, that makes sense. It's going to readjust my mic now that I've turned so that I'm not quite so. Here we go. They're lining up on the back of the grid. I'll count down the lights. Can Sean count to 5 challenge? Part 1. Probably not. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 laps, 5 lights. It is lights out and away we go in Baku for the sprint. Max Verstappen did not go up the inside of Sergio Perez's turn 1. Instead, he's got George Russell for company. Having a right go. George into turn 3 as well. Will he get it? Max is staying to the outside. There's a little bit of contact at turn 3. Ooh. They're still side by side. On the run to 4. George Russell, nice and racy early on. Charles Leclerc, by the way, is out front. Is Max staying on the outside of turn 4? This is going to end in tears. And Verstappen just going backwards. What a start from George Russell. What aggressive racing by both of them. I think Verstappen just said mate over team radio, so I don't think he's very happy. So what now for Verstappen? He's going to have DRS, isn't he? So he will be... And I wonder where Russell is. Has Russell fallen a little bit further back? I'll just quickly remind you as well, don't forget the timing has been updated manually, so just bear with us. We'll try and get off of it. We're waiting for the live timing to kick in. There we go. F1 live timing is kicking in, but the order is still the same on the F1 live timing, so that's a bit of a pain. It's just starting to readjust, so bear with us. But yeah, I'll keep you updated. It is Leclerc from Perez, from Russell, from Verstappen, from Sainz, from Hamilton. What's Verstappen saying? Oh, good point. Yes. So they're not. It sounds like he's not happy with Russell. Feels like he might have been pushed wide or towards a wall. We've got a yellow flag out there. But he was told over the radio, that's a tyre wandering down the track. That'll be at least a safety car. It's an AlphaTauri, and that is Yuki Tsunoda. He's hit the wall at 15, I'm going to guess. And that is damage. Will it be a safety car, tyre carcass in the middle of the track? All sectors, yellow flag. We might get a VSC here. I'd have thought there's got to be a VSC to recover that. So rolling tyre for Yuki. I was just going to go through the rest of the order for you there. Sainz, Hamilton, Alonso, Albon 8th, Norris 9th, Stroll 10th, Piastri, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Bottas, Zhou, Gasly, De Vries, Ocon and Tsunoda is last, and I assume probably out of the race. And that's Perez running over debris there. They really ought to clear that up. I'm surprised we've not got at least a virtual safety car here. Or were they leaves? They might have been leaves. Still got yellow flags. No sign of... So there's a tyre in the middle of the track on the entry to turn 16, and we're still waiting. And there's debris everywhere. Come on, that's a safety car. At least. Virtual safety car is what they're going with, apparently. So we are under virtual safety car. I've even got flags. I'm going to buy. What a loser. Oh, Yuki's got... Is that 14? Or 13? He's just sort of drifted wide. It's 13. Drifted wide and clunked the wall, but he's lost his front wing before that. So he must have hit the wall on the inside and then followed it on. I must have missed that bit and then gone onto the outside. I'm surprised this isn't a full safety car. I mean, I'm waiting for the red flag. You know what they're like with red flags at the moment. Yeah, that's true, David, actually. Yeah, the virtual safety car is basically the same as a safety car with everything being bunched up anyway, isn't it? So that's a very good point. It's not like we've got massive field spread yet, is it? So if they can cover it under virtual and get it cleared up, then at least we don't have to... I think Tsunoda's retiring. There's just no point. He's retiring. Or maybe not. Let's see. But yeah, if they can clear it under virtual safety car, it means that we can get going much more quickly, which in a sprint sort of makes sense. So long as they do it safely, everything's done safely and properly, then... That's fine. What are they thinking? Are they going to send him out? He'll need a proper safety car to catch the back of the pack. Do a bit of practice. The nose is being changed for Tsunoda. I want to see that replay again, because did he hit the wall on the inside? Clip the wall on the inside? I'll watch the start, though. See what Max Verstappen's not happy about. So he gets a really sluggish start, Verstappen. Russell to the inside. Verstappen stays wide. Feels he was... he's not shoved there. That's fine. That's turn 1, lap 1. So that's not... It can't be that one. Russell then stays to the inside. This one... Yeah, he did hit him. There was contact. A bit... Remember Ocon Raikkonen? Was it Ocon Raikkonen? 2018? Or Bottas Kimi was another one that Karun's just said from 2017. So yeah, that was a bit like that. So just not quite as... Then there was another... Oh, he's hit the wall as well, Max, at turn 3. Hit the wall, so... Or look to hit the wall from that camera angle. Interesting. Tsunoda's back out under... Tsunoda's steering left while he goes in a straight line. So that's game over, isn't it, for Tsunoda? Definitely. So I think Tsunoda's going to be a DNF here. Yeah, he's crabbing. How weird. What a weird sight. Yeah, we are under virtual safety car. Oh, no, Kimi. Do you know, okay, mister, where I really miss Kimi, and it's a silly thing to say because he's a fantastic racing driver, where I really miss Kimi is interviews and press conferences. I miss him. I miss him for that. Yeah, he's drifting and crabbing, unless he's just having fun. I assume not. I assume he's got some damage, but yeah. Leclerc is still leading. Perez, Russell, just behind him under virtual safety car. So broken suspension, at least. Would that be front or rear suspension? Because he's hit with his rear, hasn't he? So that's probably what's causing the crabbing there. We've got a full safety car, which, you know, if they'd just done that in the first place. Although I do agree with David, they could have tried. But there's a lot of debris there. So safety car out on track. Proper full safety car now. There we go. That's frustrating, isn't it? They're going to put some softs on an Alpine here, which must be... Are they going to go with Ocon here? He's 18th and basically last because I think Tsunoda's about to DNF. Tsunoda's in the pits, I think. Dampers, yeah. This is to Bernie Collins. I do like Bernie Collins on comms. A little bit of insight on the strategy side. No, Tsunoda's still creeping around. He's just coming up to where he had the incident, actually, at turn 13. So, according to the Ocon, then. May as well. Verstappen being told he's picked up some floor damage, so waiting for the balance shift on team radio. But there goes Ocon on a set of softs. Did he really drive inside? I don't understand. How can we keep the position? Then he's damaging my car. I just find it ridiculous. Is Verstappen on Russell? They didn't even start clean up under virtual safety car. Fire Vittich, says Dell. I'm not going to go as far as fire Vittich, but I do think it's... I mean, like I said, David made a good point. No pictures yet to update with, unfortunately. As soon as I get some, I will do. But yeah, David made the good point that with the field being bunched up, a virtual safety car is the same as a safety car in some ways. But it's left rear as we look at it, right rear on Tsunoda, by the way, that's given up. But it did look to us like safety car pretty much straight away, and I feel like we've wasted a lap or two here. Because now they'll have to wait for the pack to catch the car. Released in unsafe conditions, stewards are going to investigate Tsunoda, well, AlphaTauri, for the car being released in unsafe condition, which it clearly is. But then, I was going to say he wasn't crabbing on his way back, but he sort of was. He had a tyre missing, didn't he? So, yeah, we are on a safety car if you are just tuning in. Reminder, no on-track footage for what I think are, and most people understand, are obvious copyright reasons. Your order: Leclerc, Perez, Russell, Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Alonso, Albon, Norris, Stroll, Piastri, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Bottas, Zhou, Gasly, De Vries, and Ocon. Tsunoda is out, and Sargent withdrew because of the damage from this morning's sprint qualifying shootout thing that they're doing. So there you go. There you go. It's all a bit quiet now under the safety car. And again, if I can get some images in for the race, I will do. But if it's going to be as chaotic as this, then I probably won't worry about it because there's plenty to watch here. I do. The best thing about the sprint is it's another race. And that's a stupid thing to say because it's obvious. Of course, it's another race, but it's. So how much say debris gone all clear? Tsunoda's made it back to the pits. I'll get back to a point at some point. So safety car. I might be going green pretty quickly here. Yep. Yuki's out then. That's a DNF for Yuki Tsunoda. They are retiring the car. So left rear as we look at it, his right rear. I'd love to see, did they know that it was? Let's have a look. So take the rim off, because that's all that's left. Or the hub, whatever you want to call it. On goes the new tyre. He goes. Yeah. That's difficult. Is that? I mean, I'm not great with the technical stuff. Is that something the team could have spotted in those circumstances in a pit stop condition, or is that something you're only going to know once the wheel's on? I guess. Safety car is ending it, is in this lap. So don't forget Verstappen, a little bit of floor damage and not happy with what happened with Russell, but stewards are not currently investigating that. So I assume it is for the contact at turn 3. Turn 2. I get muddled there. Turn 2, yeah. Or 3. No, it was 3, wasn't it? 2 was fine. 3 there was contact. So I assume it's for that. And yeah, nothing doing for the stewards. Crashing into Bottas and blame Bottas in Imola. Russell Bottas. So I'm laughing. Site says profanity. There was a cut. I assume he's talking about his tyres. I didn't read it as cuts first time, and I'm glad I didn't read it the first time I read it. I need to get some glasses. Oh my god, my eyesight's so bad. So bad. Don't forget to drop a like, by the way. We're not quite at 100 yet, but 511 here, so let's bump that number up. Would be massively appreciated. Supporting the channel. Here we go then. So this is going to all be done very, very late. We saw it in the F2 if you caught that race. Chaos, by the way, at the end of that one. Very worrying crash between Daruvilla and Martins. But we've gone green officially, but they are still sort of trundling along now, waiting, because they changed the rules so that a couple of years ago, so that the start-finish line now is where you get the green flag from instead of the first safety car line. The first safety car line in places like Baku being infinitely safer doing it that way. But hey, FIA things. So here goes Leclerc then, warming his tyres. Medium tyres. Don't get Ocon on the soft, so he might be one to keep an eye on. He might be able to come through to 8th place. You never know. When is Leclerc? Leclerc's gone. He's bolted. Here we go. He's now going to try and break the toe, which the FIA aren't going to like. And here goes Verstappen immediately on George Russell into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick? I won't imagine he's going to leave a lot of space on the exit for George. Doesn't matter because George is kind of backed out of it. And look at that. It's Alonso past Hamilton. Sainz as well. Here goes Alonso trying to get Sainz. We have restarted chaos already. Lots of action through the field. Is Russell going to come back at Verstappen? Is Alonso going to get Sainz on the run to 3? He is not, but great restart for Sainz. He's gone above Hamilton, as if it was there anyway. Might have been. And then Alonso's jumped Hamilton. Or was Hamilton trying to pass Sainz? I've got confused now. It doesn't take a lot, I know. But we are green. We are racing again. Norris on the softs as well. Bottas on softs, just to let you know. For those who are wondering. I don't think they've pitted. In fact, they haven't pitted. So Verstappen back up into 3rd place. So if you're just tuning in and you saw the grid to start with of Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen, Russell, Sainz, it has changed, I promise. We have had some action, we have had some drama, and some overtaking as well. So Verstappen just nailed the timing of the restart, got side by side with Russell. Was he passed over the line? No, he wasn't. Stayed behind over the line and then just went deep on the brakes and went through. Russell deciding not to try and stick it down the outside, which was probably the best thing to do in that situation. And that gave him that position. I'd love to see the Alonso replay. Oh, Alonso nearly hit the wall and he's at 15 with his back end sticking out. Fish talk. What is it? I have no idea what you mean, Del. What have I missed? He says, what is this fish talk? I'll keep an eye out for your response, Del. I have no idea what you're on about, mate. I feel like I've missed something. So now DRS is enabled, end of lap 1, unless they've changed their mind on that regulation. Have a look at some images in a minute as things start to settle down. I think we'll have what we see in a lot of sprints. We have lots of action early on, sort of the first few laps, and then things quieten down. Perez has got DRS, so here we go, already right on the back of Leclerc into turn 4. You know how I wasn't going to do my B-Tech Crofty impression? Here I am. I'm doing it anyway. I can't help it. Sergio Perez right in the back of Leclerc. Here comes Verstappen behind as well. George Russell just dropping back a tad. What is he? 1 second now behind Verstappen. Verstappen 9 tenths behind Perez. Perez 7 tenths off Leclerc. Oh, okay, that's fine. I didn't know if I said something or got something wrong, Dale. Thank you for clarifying that one. McLaren's need to speed up, says Jay. Norris 6 tenths behind Stroll. Piastri 5 tenths behind Norris. So let's see. Ooh, I hate that castle section on board. Always makes me win. So I just want to see. Naturally and understandably, they are going to focus on the lead of the race here. But I would like to see Alonso or Stroll. I'd like to see whether or not they've got that DRS working on. In fact, I could look on the timing tower, couldn't I? On the official app, or whatever it's called, the official website. Alonso has DRS. Stroll has DRS. Good news. Unless it's just that they're in DRS and not activated it. I'll just double check. Here goes Perez then. He's going to get the DRS. He is well within a second, half a second off. This is going to be close down to turn one. Don't forget, DRS 100 metres shorter this year. So this might help Leclerc. Here he goes. Sergio Perez closing, having a look to the inside and takes the lead of the race. Perez leads the sprint. Now, what can Verstappen do with that floor damage? Perez has taken the lead. 2 tenths clear. 4 tenths clear already. But Leclerc's got DRS back here. Hang on. This isn't over. Leclerc's having a little look, but he's not going to get through there. So Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen is now your top 3. Yeah. Nice. Pretty simple move. I felt as soon as he got the DRS, it was likely, wasn't it? It was likely it was going to be an overtake. Now it's whether Verstappen can get that gap down to Leclerc, and then what Red Bull are going to do. Are they going to let them race? I mean, if you're Verstappen and you're thinking about the championship, you could argue go for the win if you get the opportunity against your teammate. But also, if he finishes second, he's only losing 1 point to Perez, isn't he? If you think about it, it is 1 point because it's 8 points for first, 7 for second. So it's not worth wiping each other out. But Perez, according to the official live timing, is P2, but he's definitely leading. There we go. He's now P1. I was going to say, he's definitely leading. Oh, I don't... What do you think in chat? There's just showing a replay of the Russell Verstappen thing. I don't think that's a... That's not a penalty, is it? I think if Verstappen ends up in the wall there, as in out of the race, then they're probably giving something. But that looks like a bit of wheel bumping. I don't think that's... I get Max's frustration, by the way. I understand it. But right. So Verstappen has DRS. Leclerc has DRS. So now what Verstappen needs is for his teammate to disappear a little bit here, because otherwise things might be a bit tougher. But this is actually a lot of fun. This reminds me of Imola a little bit in the sprint last year, where we just had changes for the lead, and it was actually some really nice racing at the front. And this DRS is keeping Leclerc in the game. It was Leclerc and Verstappen, was it? In Imola? Something like that. So I'm gonna try and find you some pictures of the race. If XPB have put any out, they haven't. They've got the start, so that's a start. But there's not a lot there. I'll wait a little bit longer. If I can't, then I can't. It's not the end of the world. You're listening to me. You're watching the race. It's all Baku. It's not like I've put Australia pictures in. So I just need to keep an eye on this. This is actually more eventful than I expected, even though it's Baku. Is this Piastri on Norris? He gets the run on Norris. Under DRS, and through he goes. There you go. Piastri past Norris. Pastry Norris. I've been quietly impressed with Piastri so far this year. I think he's done all right. A lot of people thought he was going to struggle, but I think he's doing all right. And he's just got past Norris, who's on the softs as well, don't forget. In fact, Norris is already 1.6 behind his team. Oh, no, he isn't. 7 tenths now. Behind. So Perez now looks as though he is clear of DRS. So that now leaves Leclerc as a bit of a sitting duck. Bit of a sitting duck. To Verstappen behind. Any news on the greatest F1 driver of all time, Michael Schumacher? Asked David. First of all, David, you bang on. Secondly, no. The only news lately has been that ridiculous AI article that was put out. I mean, who signed off on that? Jesus Christ, some people. That's just the worst kind of clickbait, isn't it? I'm laughing because it just absolutely baffled me when I read it. I was like, what? Who puts that out? Mental. Let's see. You don't have to be like that, Daniel G, because I will block you. Unless you just love them, in which case, and that's fine. But what we got? So Verstappen 8 tenths behind Leclerc. Leclerc only just over a second behind Perez, so he might be able to bring himself back into play. Yeah, I'm just wondering how close he's going to get through here. Hey, Alfie Alf. No worries, mate. Good to have you with us. We're on lap 10 of 17 thus far. Actually, I don't know if you've watched the race, the sprint, you've actually missed quite a lot of action. I said a moment ago, we've got Perez in the lead now. We've had quite a lot of chaos, quite a lot of drama early on, but it's going a little bit quiet now, I must admit. Although I say that, Verstappen is closing in on Leclerc, but doesn't seem to be able to get much closer than sort of 7 or 8 tenths. He has got the DRS now, and Leclerc has no DRS. Fastest lap for Verstappen. Russell's being dropped now. Sainz, what's going on with Sainz? He's nowhere this weekend, is he, compared to his teammate? He's 1.4 off Russell and only a second up the road from Alonso, who I think... That's Stroll, sorry. Stroll is behind Albon there. And we've got the two Hasses fighting, and then into the pits comes Lando Norris. I wondered if he had a problem. He was starting to fall back. So in he comes. So is that Norris out the race, are we thinking? He's just pitted. And he's still there. Now they've changed tyres maybe and sent him out on the mediums. Maybe not happy on the softs. So yeah, Ted just saying that the soft tyres on the McLaren are gone completely. Hulkenberg right on the back. Yeah, Norris's tyres went. So pitted for some mediums. Who else is out there on softs? So obviously Ocon put the softs on, didn't he? So his will be fine to the end of the race. Bottas was also on the softs, so I wonder how long his are going to go. We've got Magnussen in DRS of Hulkenberg. So I'd like to see that. In fact, Magnussen has just passed Hulkenberg according to the timing. So I know they've got to focus on the lead, so we're going to try and keep an eye on the timing as well. See what is going on here. Because even the timing is getting confused where everybody is. Somebody just said sprint is boring. This is a waste of fuel. I don't think this has been boring so far. It might go quiet in the next lap or so, but then we are nearly at the end, actually. We're not that far from the end. I was just thinking about fuel randomly as Verstappen continues to close in on Leclerc under DRS. But I was thinking about wasting fuel. And I might be making this up or misremembering. Can you remember when they had to go out in qualifying on the fuel load as Stroll goes down the inside of Albon for P8? Nice little move that into turn one. They had to start the qualifying on the fuel they start the race, and then they go out for the first half an hour or whatever and just burn fuel off. So they had a light car for qualifying. That was a waste of fuel. That was clearly pre-cost cap and pre-sustainability pledges, wasn't it? If they're going out and doing that. Albon tried to come back at Stroll, but didn't quite work out. So yeah, that was a weird time for, because it was knockout qualifying, wasn't it? Unless I'm wrong. I might be wrong, actually. It was top 10 shootout. Go out on your fuel. But that was a total waste of fuel. And that was a waste of my time. Thank you so much to Hamilton44 for a £2 super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate your support there. Hopefully, I'm guessing, it's just a punt here, that you might be a Lewis Hamilton fan. So I'll tell you, Lewis Hamilton is P7 at the moment, 8.1 off the lead and 1.2 behind Alonso. Yes, it's Sainz's pace that's concerning me. Leclerc now back within DRS of Sergio Perez. Cam says 17 laps is not long enough, minimum 25, I reckon. Well, I thought when they first floated the idea of the sprints that they'd just do half race distance. Which in some sprints I don't want, but in this one I'd quite like another 10 laps or so. What would half of 51 be? About 25, 26, wouldn't it? You'd have plus 1 lap, so yeah, just for this 5 laps to go though, just this sprint so far, and Brazil, any sprint in Brazil, 500 laps please. That'd be amazing. We've got to focus on Haas there. I've got Albon still in DRS of Lance Stroll, Piastri right behind them as well, so we've got a nice little battle here, Stroll, Albon and Piastri for that final points paying position. We've also got, as Ocon told to box, so I assume that's to retire. Well, they're going to put soft tyres on him again. Obviously used tyres, they're not new tyres. It's Perez out front at the moment. But Leclerc is coming back at him here. 8 tenths behind. Verstappen now 1.2 behind Leclerc. So yeah, so are the softs overheating then? Because it's hotter today, isn't it, than it was yesterday? So I wonder if softs are overheating a little bit here. Yeah, he has got a bit of damage as Max on his floor. So he's not. I think without that, he's probably a bit closer, but he's not out of this yet. Anyone in that top 3 can still win. Although Leclerc now 1.3 behind Perez, according to the TV, but 8 tenths on the main timing tower. This is the official live timing website is all over the place today. As Zhou passes Hülkenberg into turn 1 under DRS to take P12. Hülkenberg P13. So I'll read you the order again in a moment. Perez, 1.2 clear of Leclerc. Then we've got Verstappen, Russell and Sainz. Alonso, Hamilton, Stroll are your remaining top 8ers. Let's call them that. Albon 9, Piastri 10, Magnussen 11, Zhou 12, Gasly 13, Hülkenberg 14th. It's 15 for Bottas, 16th for De Vries, 17th for Norris. He is still on track. Ocon has retired. He's in the pits at the moment. No, he isn't. Well, the timing tower says he's out, but he's not. He's P18. And Tsunoda is the only retirement. And don't forget that Sargent did not take part in the race. De Vries passing Bottas into turn 1 for what is P15. So still doing a bit of racing here. Don't forget, this doesn't set the grid for tomorrow. This is just a completely standalone race. There is nothing else going on there. It's just a standalone race, amazingly. Thank you very much to Kai Jones for their pledge on Patreon. Their increased pledge on Patreon. I thought I recognised the name. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. For your support there. Don't forget you can support the channel through Super Chats, through PayPal, through Streamlabs, and through Patreon as well. Massively appreciated. Help keep the channel's head above water at the moment. And don't forget to drop a like as well. 113 likes, 650 watching. So let's get that up a little bit if we can. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Race reaction tomorrow with Will after the Grand Prix proper. And then it's Miami next week. Back to back. No racing for 4 weeks. And then is it 5 in 6 weeks? Something like that. Madness. So we're watching Pierre Gasly in P13 and Zhou in P12. I think that's game over for the win. Charles Leclerc now 2.2 behind Perez with 3 laps to go, including this one that they're on. Verstappen 1.1 behind Leclerc, so maybe can bring himself in with a shot, but again, only losing 2 points to his, at the moment, main title rival Sergio Perez, so probably not going to panic too much. Tomorrow's the big one. Russell, P4 at the moment, 4.4 off the lead, off Verstappen, sorry. Sainz still 1.7 behind. Have we missed anything with Sainz? Let me know. Because he's not super quick, is he? 1.7 off Russell and 1.3 clear of Alonso. Or is it just not the pace again this weekend? I think, was it similar in Baku last year between Leclerc and Sainz, that Sainz struggled a little bit pace-wise to his teammate? Verstappen is within DRS with a couple of laps to go as we get close to a couple of laps to go. So it might get spicy for P2 yet. We're currently still watching Gasly versus Zhou for P12 and 13. P12 meaning absolutely nothing to anything in these sprints. That's another concern, isn't it? Another concern. I'm trying to look at who's where and who's got what, but you've got Stroll, Albon and Piastri are sort of in a fight still for P8, but not really. But then you've got Magnussen a long way back. What's in it for them back there? Unless we get some proper drama at the front. Leclerc just stretching that to 1.1 again. 2 to go. But he's definitely... I don't know if these two have backed out of it a little bit and thinking about tomorrow now. I don't know. But save the cars a little bit. But Perez has just vanished. Oh, Perez is just quick. What's Perez done? 43.8. And then Leclerc did a 44.6. Verstappen a 44.4. So, yeah. Definitely gone quiet at the front. So the battles we'll keep an eye. You never know. He might get back within DRS and take the fight to Leclerc with a lap and a half to go. But further down, there's Russell 4.2 off at 1.7, 1.6. Hamilton 2.4 off the back of the car in front, 3.2 for Stroll. Really, the only battle at the moment is Gasly versus Zhou for P12. Woo! And Verstappen 1.2 off Leclerc at the front for P2 and 3. There is, if you're interested, Bottas is 16th, 1.1 off Hülkenberg, who's dropped to 15th. If you're interested. I hope the race won't be this dull tomorrow, says Mr. Creed. Sorry, I read that wrong. Mr. Creed. Well, the thing with tomorrow, you've got a strategy, haven't you, to take into account, and it's a longer race as well, so yeah. Well, I don't think it's gone. It's done what Sprint's doing. It's gone a little bit flat now. But that first half, because we had the drama at the start, bit of overtaking, some wheel banging, an accident that brought out a safety car, kept it nice and spicy, but it's definitely gone flat. But sprints do. We're entering what would normally be the phase of the Grand Prix where it goes a little bit flat. They start thinking about time management. So, yeah. But this is it. It's a standalone event, so what's Max doing here? Is he close enough to have a... He's not close enough, no. He has got DRS. So I'm going to ignore the official live timing website because it's clearly not working properly. So we're going to see 8 tenths off Leclerc. They're talking in commentary on Sky commentary. So I've got me headphone in. They are talking about Stroll Bottas from 2017, but I think the DRS was a little bit longer then, wasn't it? So it's gonna be relatively close for P2, but Sergio Perez is about to dump all over. Do you know, it doesn't matter. They're just for fun. But in my predictions in the preview, I actually put Perez originally in my notes and in my graphic to win the sprint, and then I changed it to Verstappen because I thought he'd just be unstoppable this weekend. So I'm kind of gutted now. Damn you, Checo. You got it right. 9 tenths. I don't think... Famous last words. Perez is coming round now to win it, though. But we're watching Verstappen and Leclerc. So Perez, I'd like to see the winner over the line, even though it is only the sprint. Here he comes. Sergio Perez through turn 20. And now it is just a nice long blast. Not that we can see him through the trees. And over the line. And Sergio Perez wins the first sprint of 2023 for Red Bull. He does love a street track and he does love Baku. It is going to be Charles Leclerc P2. Max Verstappen had DRS but didn't quite get close enough. Could have done with another lap or two, but then couldn't we all? Yeah, there you go. Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, all confirmed in their positions over the line. Lance Stroll, P8, P9 for Albon, P10 for Piastri, and then in a moment it'll be Magnussen over the line. If he gets there, he's over the line. Then there'll be Zhou. These are the gaps. I'm pausing for the gaps. Zhou over the line. Gasly over the line. We're just waiting for De Vries now for 14th. These positions mean nothing. So your points... 8 for Perez, 7 for Leclerc, 6 for Verstappen, 5 for Russell, 4 for Sainz, 3 for Alonso, 2 for Hamilton, and 1 for Lance Stroll. Nothing for Alex Albon. But that'll be, I tell you what, that'll be a couple of points tomorrow for Albon, that would. So if he can be there, we are checkered flag. I should really put the flag out. I put the effort in putting the flags in there. There you go. So there you go. Game over. Sprint done. I'll end this poll and then we'll get you to rate that sprint. So thoughts on the new sprint shootout qualifying. 30% of you with that one said that they are okay, average or meh. Completely where I'd stand with them. Throw them in the bin. 20%, 24 good, 27% great. And then what we'll do is we'll rate the race as well. We'll have a little bit of a chat. See what we think about in a moment. Rate the sprint. I'll do the usual great, good, average, bad. No, not jid. That's not the word. Good. I've done that wrong. You have 2 options. I'll end that poll. You had 2 options there. You either liked it or you didn't. In fact, no, it was good, great or good. So, yes. Sorry, I had a right brain fart there. And if you've got any questions, we can do some questions about the sprint and things like that this weekend if you want. But I'll wrap it up very shortly. Probably about 1:30. We'll do 20 minutes of just wrapping that race up, chatting about tomorrow, things like that. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Baku Grand Prix Day tends to be quite fun. I mean, 2016, off the top of my head, without going back and looking, was absolutely... I mean, that was dull, wasn't it? Nico Rosberg absolutely cruised that one. So your options are great, good, average, or bad. So that's your poll. Rate the sprint. And then before we wrap up, we'll have a look at that one. I would say that was... first half good. Second half... I wouldn't say bad. The thing is, right, we had action in the field. There was always a little bit of tension there. Could Verstappen get Leclerc? Could Leclerc come back at Perez? But we did have action towards the back end of the grid with Zhou battling with Gasly, and we had Albon and Piastri and all that. The problem is, as nice as it is to have that action, it's very hard to get excited about something that literally does not matter. Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. It literally does not matter about P12. But there was action. So, oh, wow. That's a hole in the side of the Red Bull. That's not a damaged floor. Oh, he looks... Max Verstappen. If you don't like bad language, I don't consider this bad language. If you don't, I'm sorry. He looks pissed off. He does not... That is a hole in the side pod. Oh, and he's gone to George Russell. Oh, dear. I had no grip. Verstappen says, we all have no grip. Oh. Next time the same is what Verstappen said to Russell. Russell saying, I had no grip. Verstappen said, no, nobody has any grip. And then I missed that next bit. And then Max, as he walked away, said, well, next time expect the same. So. No, he's not. See, I don't buy into this. A few people saying that's pathetic. I don't. It's the same with, and I know this isn't popular. It's the same with what happened in Brazil a few years ago when he pushed Ocon and everyone went and had a fit about it because he pushed somebody. And I have no problem with F1 cars getting out of car with adrenaline pumping and being pissed off at somebody who's hit them or whatever. As long as we don't see things like I always get them wrong, and you'll tell me who they are in chat. Going back many years, those two drivers. I want to say, was it not Salazar? That's Salazar Slytherin. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Was it PK and somebody actually had a punch up on the side of the track? We don't want to get to that point, but I have no problem with a driver getting out and having a go at a driver who he thinks has done wrong. It's just about it's passion. Well, first it shows he cares. It's passion. It's adrenaline. Let's listen to what he says though. I say let's listen. You can't hear me, can you? A big hole as well. Big hole. Yeah, he's not happy. He's repeating basically what George has said. Look at the onboard, locked up, cold tyres. Did he lock up? I don't know if he locked up, but he definitely, I mean, he's... Yeah, Max not happy. There you go. Terminally online people, not a fan of any confrontation, says Slicks. Yeah. It's like I say, there's a line, isn't there? There's a line. You can't... Have you got those names? PK and Alboretti. Was it PK and Alboretti? I can't remember. All I've got in my head now is Salazar Slytherin, which, by the way, I would... PK versus Salazar Slytherin. Wow, what a fight that would be. That would be... that would be quite a moment. Oh, dear. It's only been just over an hour and I've already cracked. That's unbelievable. Space says we went in too hot with cold tyres. That sounds like a confession. Well, it was a penalty for Sainz in Australia, wasn't it? His defence was cold tyres. And the FIA said no excuse. So, I mean, first it's a sprint. So probably the FIA probably haven't even bothered. Probably just stayed in bed. They have absolutely bothered. I'm joking, but I'm not going to sit here and say that's a lack of consistency, because they're two completely different situations, completely different tracks. Max is still going, yes, with damage. He wasn't spun round, but the defence that Carlos Sainz used was the tyres were cold, and the FIA told him, well, everyone's tyres were cold. So I'm surprised it wasn't looked at. I'm not saying it should be a penalty. I want to see another angle of it on board from George, really. But I'm not saying it was a penalty. I'm not saying it wasn't. But I'm surprised they didn't at least note it, because they like to note things, the FIA. Do you know what I mean? We see that a lot noted, and then they don't do anything with it. But what was I going to say? So, yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to pop in chat. We'll have a look at Rate the Race in just a moment. Anything you're looking forward to tomorrow, or driver of the sprint, you can let me know your driver of the sprint as well. I don't know who the driver of the sprint would be, really. It's always difficult to pick a driver of the sprint race. I guess Checo. I mean, he's made a pass for the lead, albeit quite easy with DRS, which is expected with the Red Bulls. They get cool little plaques or trophies, little trophy plaques now, which is quite cool, because they get the medals now for the Grand Prix, don't they? For some reason. So, just trying to think who's done a great job, really. What was the grid? Let's just pull the grid up a minute, and then I can have a look at the results. I can't remember who was where. So there was the starting grid. So Hulkenberg 15, no, not me him. So where's Piastri? So Piastri 11th to 10th, Albon 9th. I mean, Magnussen moved up to 11th from 13th, Zhou from 14th to 12th, so a couple of places there. Gasly went from 17th to 13th, but I think probably here we Checo, because he's won it and he made a pass for the lead. Kind of where I'm at with that one. If you could think of anybody else that's more deserving of it than Checo, then do let me know. Would have been interesting to see what Verstappen could have done without the hole in his car, given that he was only sort of a second or 6/10 over the line behind Leclerc. So I feel like, not to ruin Ferrari's day, or Ferrari fans' day, but I feel like Verstappen, without that hole in the car, probably finishes second today at least. Also, I'll tell you what I did actually do this sprint. It showed me that I wouldn't have had time to get pictures in the stream anyway, so I don't know why I was really worrying about that. So I'll see if I find one of the top three together at some point, so we've got something relevant to look at. But yeah, we're going to wrap up shortly. We're not going to stay live for long, because there's a few bits to talk about, but I don't think there's a massive amount to cover there. Russell should have a penalty, says, is it Sprouksy? Be honest. Well, like I said, I want to see the onboard of George. I don't know if we got an onboard of George, but I'm surprised they didn't look at it. Piastri's done very well, says Kemper. Yes, he has, definitely. Sainz Hail Mary dive was certainly impressive, says Siggy. It was, wasn't it? Very impressive. Not as impressive. What did they use for his defence for Sainz? It was cold tyres. The sun was in his eyes. Oh, that reeks of desperation, doesn't it? The sun was in his eyes, and they'd used an incident from Force India as precedent for something. And it was like, you what? Do you know what I mean? Like, you what? Why are we going back to Force India? Why are you using that as an example? Yes, Sergio Perez did win in the end from Leclerc and Verstappen. So, yes. I'm not going to say too much. I'll humour them. I'll humour Sprouksy, because obviously he's a bit dumb. Yes, I have an English accent, so that's why I have not said that George Russell get a penalty. I am 100% full of English bias, because that's what the moronic internet tend to think. Not everybody. Most of you are smart enough to know the difference between balance and. It'll be a fanboy of Max probably, and I have to attack every English person, because otherwise, yeah. Anyway, what are you saying? Racing incident says FD30, race lap 1. Yeah, see, this was the other thing with the Sainz one. I know we're going back 4 weeks there. This is the one with the Sainz one. The Sainz one was technically a lap 1 incident, because it was, a start lap incident, but it was on lap 56 or whatever it was, wasn't it? So nobody really knew what was going on there. Alonso was pretty good. He got that. I never got a replay of that move on Hamilton, did we? Which I'd like to have seen. It felt like he'd gone for a dive. I don't know if he had gone for a dive. But I kind of wish we'd seen a replay of that, unless I missed that one as well, which is very possible. That's fair enough, Sproutsy. That's fine. I didn't see the messages there. Sorry, but that's fine. I'm trying. You lot are all talking to each other, so I'm trying to find something that's related to me. The only reason anyone's saying is a penalty is because he hit Max. If it was Norris and Zhou, no penalties is FD30. Oh, I'd go the opposite way. Oh no. Sorry, no. That's not my argument at all. That's the FIA argument. My argument was going to be the opposite, in that usually when it's between two drivers further down the grid, the FIA don't care, but when it's they tend to care and give out penalties left, right and centre, but they don't when it's at the front. But I got muddled in your question there, or your point. So it does, yeah, it's a fair point. Whenever it's Hamilton or Verstappen, it always has to be a penalty, or there's always some controversy or some FIA conspiracy or whatever, when in reality it's exactly the same as if Ocon hits Bottas. But people like to have a big strop about it. It's the internet. Woo, the internet. So the internet allows me to do this, so it's fantastic, and it's great to talk to F1 fans about Formula One. Never been able to do it before, so starting this channel was exactly what that was for. But it does come with the other side of it, which is the people that make me want to smash my face against a wall because they're just so dense. I'm sorry, but it's true. So I sort of look at Twitter and I'm just like, scroll down my timeline for about 30 seconds, then go, nah, not today, and just put my phone down because there's just no point. Sitting in a pub in Bangkok watching the sprint race on a tiny TV with a DJ playing loud Asian techno. Your audio commentary saved my bacon. Thank you very much, Studio Viper. That sounds both absolutely awful but also absolutely incredible at the same time. What an atmosphere that must be. Fantastic. Korn says sprint is useless. Well, actually, outside the top 8 it is now, isn't it? Because it doesn't set the grid for Sunday. Inside the top 8, it's still championship points, so it's not totally useless, but I'm kind of relieved a little bit today, actually. I will admit, just as a review of this, or final thoughts on the race itself, I'm a little bit relieved that we didn't just have, say, Zhou in 12th down, retiring with 5 laps to go because there was no point being out there. Yes, they may have been out there just cruising around and doing some practice or some testing or whatever of the stuff they could for the race, but that's still cars on track. So I'm relieved. I was a little bit worried that there would just be a point where they go, oh, look, we're where was he? 34 seconds off the lead. 15 seconds off a point. Let's just call it a day and game over, save the engine mileage for tomorrow and for the rest of the season. But I'm kind of relieved they didn't. I guess in Baku there is always that threat that anything could happen, isn't there? So maybe that's why. If it was on a track where maybe we don't get quite so much chaos, they'd have pulled them in. But we'll see. Austria, for example, could be interesting. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for coming. He says, thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here. Great to have your company this afternoon. Don't forget to drop a like, by the way, to anyone who's disappearing. If you're disappearing, see somebody. If you're disappearing, please drop a like before you go. I'll wrap up in sort of 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll back tomorrow. Woo! For the race reaction proper. Just watching a replay of the Russell Verstappen one. I want the onboard of Russell if they could. Max leaves in space, to be fair, doesn't he? He leaves in space. I just want to hear what Russell said. Still didn't catch what Russell said to Max at the end there. He said something that seemed to annoy him. But yeah, no, he left in space. I can't help but feel that if that was on lap 5, that's a penalty. Does that make sense? Because it was first lap, the FIA or the stewards have been a bit more lenient. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't like the cold. It's the same with the sun in your eyes that Sainz said in Australia. The sun was in everybody's eyes. everybody had cold tyres, and although there was chaos in Australia, Hamilton didn't plough into the side of Verstappen, did he, at the start in Australia? And his sun was in his eyes, and he had cold tyres. So it's a bit of a, like I said, it was a bit of a desperate. I think it was a desperate attempt from Ferrari, and a bit of a weak excuse. Checo wins. Yes, he does. If you are just tuning in for the result, by the way, Perez won the sprint, picks up 8 points. Leclerc second, picks up 7 points. It's 6 points for Leclerc. For Verstappen in third, 5 points for Russell in fourth, 4 points for Sainz in fifth. I've confused myself. 3 points for Alonso in sixth, 2 points for Hamilton in seventh, and 1 point for Stroll in eighth place. In the end, ignore the pitted drivers. In the end, the field was separated by 49 seconds. Bottas in 16. I mean, officially, it was a minute, but Ocon and Norris pitted. Ocon pitted twice, Norris pitted once, Bottas didn't. So, quite a gap. What's George saying about this one then? I want to know if he's... So he says Max knew the risks on the outside, or as a driver, you know that. Again, I hate that excuse. It was one that Singapore a few years ago that people tried to put that incident with Perez and Ocon because he shouldn't have been on the outside, and it's like, oh shush. Plenty of drivers made it around the outside and didn't crash. Yeah. I was going to say something there, but I'm not going to, because I don't... It'll come across wrong. Pure Blood says George had the inside. Yeah, but Max was... It wasn't like Max wasn't there, was it? Max hadn't been... I mean, I can't remember now. Russell was just ahead still, but Max hadn't disappeared. You've got to account for your cold tyres. I'll always say that. These are supposed to be the best drivers in the world, according to F1. And if they've got cold tyres, they should drive accordingly. Oh, crikey. So crikey, sugar blimey. The best thing about that, Siggy, was yesterday in qualifying when he said... He dropped the F-bomb and then said sugar afterwards. It's like, mate, you've already gone full F-bomb. You might as well say shit. Do you know what I mean? Why you say sugar? So should Russell brake and lose out? Yes, Russell should control his car. I don't think that's a controversial take. If you've got cold tyres, you drive accordingly. So if you're going in hot and you've got cold tyres, or you're coming to a corner and you've got cold tyres, then think, oh, maybe a little bit earlier on the brakes, or maybe leave a bit more space or whatever. The only driver in control of Russell's car is Russell. The only driver in control of Verstappen's car is Verstappen. So if you've got cold tyres, drive accordingly. He says, sat in his office in Lincoln and struggles to drive a road car most days. Do you know? But you know what I mean? It's not... Max wasn't driving George's car into the side of him, and George wasn't driving Max's car around the outside. So, but let's not. There's no point going over it, because there's no point talking to people who are on the other side of the argument and having an argument in chat. Because I've got the on board with George now. They're going to show it. So Naomi Schiff saying, why take the risk against George? Yeah. And then the same pundits will all complain that the sprint's boring when there's no action. Because Max should back out of it and not try it on the first lap around it. I mean, I think in championship he could have done, I suppose, but he does hit the wall, at 4 as well. Does clunk the wall. I don't really know why I'm listening to Sky Punditry, because I can't bloody stand it. I absolutely can't stand it. I'm going to take that thing out my ear. Go on. Shoo. Let's do 5 minutes, questions and all that, like I say, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I've got a bit waffly here trying to watch replays and listen to what Naomi Schiff and Damon Hill say when, frankly, I couldn't give two shits. Sorry, I couldn't. I'm going to cover this. So, if Perez finishes second in the race, would he be ahead in the championship, says David. So, what is that? What does that do for the championship situation? So, let me find... I'm going there, can't I? Let me have a look up here and see what that does for the championship. So, results, Drivers' Championship. So, Sergio Perez. Now, is this updated since the sprint? I can tell you in a minute. Or I think I can tell you in a minute. Preview. I did have a championship table somewhere, didn't I? Oh, PC did not like that. What are you doing, man? You're streaming. Don't open other things. So that has updated. So Verstappen moves on to 75 points. Checo on to 62. That's a 13-point gap. Yeah, that's a 13-point gap, Sean. Well done. So if Perez finishes second and Verstappen doesn't score or scores few points, then yes, he could take the championship lead. But not if Verstappen finishes in decent points, if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense, Sean. Why I said it makes sense. So Perez on to 62, Alonso 48, Hamilton 40, Sainz 24, Russell 23, Stroll 21, Leclerc 13. Is he still only on 13 points? Good grief, Ferrari. What did you do early on? Yeah, 13 points. Goodness me. So that they are your point scorers. Constructors Championship wise, it's really closed up at the front. Not Red Bull have unless we get the opposite of what we saw last season with Ferrari coming back super strong and turning it all around. Red Bull have probably got this in the bag. 137 points already, 69 for Aston Martin, nice. 63 for Mercedes, 37 for Ferrari, 12 for McLaren, 8 for Alpine, 7 for Haas, 6 for Alfa Romeo, 1 for AlphaTauri and 1 for Williams. None of those scoring, of course. So, yeah, he would if Max doesn't score big points, if that makes sense. Aston Martins are down now and Ferrari's up. It's again the Ferrari versus Red Bull battle this year, says Lorenzo. This weekend, yeah. Bear in mind that Aston Martin's quite a draggy car, and it's going to suffer here. Plus, they have the DRS issues in qualifying. And this, based on the first 3 races, is a bit of an outlier for Ferrari. So we will see if that comes to... If they can carry that on into the next few races, then that'd be fantastic. But it's... I love your optimism, but I'm going to say it's a little bit... It's one race weekend. We'll see. I don't know if it's track specific, if they've got something right in the brake, if everything's just clicked. I don't know. Lots going on at Ferrari at the moment. I suppose in some ways there was always going to be there, wasn't there, with Vasseur coming in, making changes, getting his team together. I don't know, really. Money equals happiness. I've not honestly thought about that. It's a very good question. Thank you. I honestly don't know. The stream, Claudio, I'll be wrapping up in a few minutes, Claudio, the stream, but the sprint itself has finished. Perez with the win from Leclerc and Verstappen. Didn't look like Leclerc has much race pace compared to the Red Bulls, says Johnny. Well, I mean, he initially stayed pretty close to Perez, didn't he? Because he got it back to sort of 9/10 of a second. I've thrown my headphones over the other side of the room now and Christian Horner's talking. I'll be interested what he says. Yeah, see, on board with Russell, he's full lock, isn't he? Sorry, he's full lock. So he has understeered on cold tyres. Make of it what you will. Again, if that's a couple of laps in, that's probably a penalty because of the damage done. First lap, we don't often see them given, do we? Really? I know. Again, the Sainz one in Australia, they gave that, but that was the 50-odd lap. It wasn't the first absolute lap of the race. So, by the way, just on Australia, just to get rid of all this controversy, just go back to safety car restarts. That'll stop people moaning. Ferrari still has DEG issues. Yeah, we'll see that. I think that'll be something we'll spot tomorrow. I think Red Bull are probably favourites there for a 1-2 still. I am pretty confident Verstappen will not be settling for second place if he gets himself up there. Yep, Aston Martin did have the DRS problems. What is happening to Mercedes and Aston getting beaten by Ferrari? I've kind of covered that, Dane. That's a conversation for a couple of races' time if that carries on. It could be track specific. If I'm pausing and erming, I'm just trying to skip through people's conversations to try and catch your comments. Have you got anything else you want to say? If not, we'll probably call it a day. How long have we been going? How long have we been going? Just over an hour and a half. So, hey, Red Raven says, "G'day." I nearly did the accent and offending you, horrific. Says, meanwhile, safety car in Spa with 2:11:30 to go. So how was it on F1 end? Plenty of crashes as expected. Are you watching the? Is it? There's an endurance race, isn't there, at Spa? I'm gonna say 12 hours of Spa, 6 hours, 3 hours, 25 minutes. 6 hours, 25 minutes of Spa. That's not an endurance race. That's an afternoon in Tesco car park, that is. Yes, I haven't watched WEC ever. Oh, no. Does Le Mans count as WEC? I've watched Le Mans. There's IndyCar this week. I'm going to try and watch IndyCar. The problem is, and I've said this before, it's not that I dislike IndyCar. I'm not one of those that... It is pretty much F1 and F1 only for me, with a bit of F2 thrown in, but that's not because I hate every other series. It's just because when I've done with F1 for the weekend and done content around it, I kind of want to watch something that isn't racing. I want to break from it. Should they award more points for the sprint? Yes, they should, Johnny. They should take it back to P10, as is the case in the Grand Prix, but I would still keep the points a lot lower than the Grand Prix and have very small gaps. So I would maybe still say 10 points for the win, down to 1 point for 10th place, because then that Albon Piastri fight that we saw for a little bit is of significance. Whereas today it wasn't. It didn't mean anything at all. So that would have been great to see that. That would have been something worth watching to the line, because that's the fight for the final points. For the final couple of points, 2 points for Albon, 1 point for Piastri. So that's what I would do. I know some people say go full Grand Prix points for the sprint, and I know people that say points for every position. I am not a fan of points for every position, because then you might as well just give out participation awards. You've got to be rewarded for having a very good race and making a top 10 or even a top 12 if you wanted to go that far. But giving points back to, imagine last year, Latifi. Congratulations, Nick. You finished last again, and it's a point. Congratulations, Nick. You finished last again, and it's a point. It's not really how it should be. So I would say for the sprints, back to 10th, 10 points for the win, no more than 12, and then down to 1 point for 10th place. Have we done driver of the day, and does it even matter, says Space? We did briefly, and I think we kind of agreed it was Perez, but I get the feeling, because usually when I say name your driver of the day, the chat just goes bonkers. Granted, we do tend to have a lot more people here, but the chat goes bonkers. I think the general consensus was Perez, but we don't really care. Was the feeling I got from people. Like, I suppose if we're picking Checo. Or Piastri's had a couple of shouts as well, but yeah, I'd say Checo. I would go for sprint points 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, says Korn. Yeah, because that gives some significance, doesn't it, to the top three positions. It's only an extra point, but it's a little bit more worth going for that risk to take the lead, isn't it? 'Cause it's a couple of extra points rather than just one. But it was a problem when points got changed to 10 and 8 a while ago. Is it in a sprint it would give you a little bit more incentive, but it doesn't really, because it is only one extra point, and that was why I didn't like the old point system of 10, 8, 6 and so on for the top 8, because your championship leader may as well just stay second because they're only dropping 2 points. If that makes no sense at all, that's fine. But Checo's People's Champion for driver of the day. Yes, absolutely. Max's driver of the day for driving around with a hole in his car, says Johnny. I just feel I prefer chilling with free practice for 60 minutes than 39, says FD30. I said it on Tuesday. Big concern for me with this new sprint format is we do lose cars on track, track time, because across a normal weekend, you've got 3 hours of practice, an hour for qualifying, and then around 2 hours for the race up to, unless we get crazy red flags. So that's 3, 4, that's 6 hours. Whereas with this weekend, we get an hour for practice, what was 30 minutes of actual track action in qualifying, so that's an hour and a half, then about half an hour for the sprint, maybe a little bit more, that's 2 hours, and then so you're losing a couple of hours across a weekend. They got an hour of qualifiers. It's probably only works out about half an hour, but it's kind of the principle of it in some ways, that you pay so much for Sky and then you're losing track time across a sprint weekend. But then again, as I said, the defense to that is it is all action, isn't it, on Saturday? So I mean, anything's better than whatever that FP2 used to be. But the one thing, if they change nothing else about these formats for the rest of the year, there'd be two things I would want them to make if they have to keep everything in this order. Change the rule for qualifying, or for the sprint qualifying shootout thing, so that drivers don't have to use a new set for at least Q3, or give them an extra set of softs and make practice 90 minutes. Because yeah, it gives us a bit of variability, a bit of chaos across a weekend, but you look at the red flags we had on Friday in practice, they've got about 30 minutes, something like that, maybe a bit more. It's not enough. Yes, people love chaos, yes, people love unpredictability, but we don't just want chaos because they haven't got the practice in. Perhaps that's just me, I don't know, but that's an argument for another day. We can review it properly. Friday FP1 and FP2, says Corp. That's how it tends to be, doesn't it? And then FP3 on Saturday morning. But again, I don't know why I dislike FP3 on Saturday. I do. Let's be honest, the viewership of FPs is 5% of the race. Yeah, that's true. Oh, I get that, Del. But with respect to all F1 fans, and it's the same for testing, the practice and testing, they're not for entertainment, are they? They're for the teams to practice and test. That's what they're for. It's when Domenicali's talking about potential points for practice, or trying to do something to spice up practice, and then people were complaining, I assume certain sides of the fan base, complaining that testing was boring, and then they're going, well, is there anything we can do to spice this up? No. I tell you, if enough people complain that testing and practice are boring, don't televise them. That's what you can do, and let the teams have their. I'd be gutted, because I love watching testing with you lot when we're live for however many. 27 hours across 3 days. I enjoy watching practice, even if it's just on in the background. But they're not for us to be entertained by. That's what qualifying and a race are for. The practice is for the teams to practice, and testing is for the teams to test. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, or whatever the kids are saying these days. There you go. Oh, also, before we go, and I'll do the poll in a second, before we go, one final point. A lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people in my comment section saying it as well on Tuesday, F1 has turned into a circus. I hate to burst your bubble, F1 has always been a circus. It has always been absolute chaos at times. Bernie Eccleston, it's just come up in the chat, used to even talk about having sprinklers. I know he was probably tongue-in-cheek with it, but they used to talk about everything for the show. They used to talk about sprinklers. They changed the point systems. They kept trying to rein in the dominant car. They were doing everything because of the show. This isn't a new thing. They're just trying new things. But F1 has always been a circus. It will never be a circus. It's what it will always be. And do you know what? I love it for it. I wouldn't want it any other way, except maybe tweak the sprint weekends a bit. I don't agree with Gunther Steiner either, by the way, saying that we could have sprints at 10 or at half the races in a season. That is too much. Johnny says, I've been watching F1 for 20 years and have never seen a practice session. Oh, Johnny, you're missing so much. Oh. The drivers go out and they drive slower than we know they can, working on setup and testing new parts. I know, right? Mind blown. It's wow. Practice is boring, but it's supposed to be. It's for the teams, not for us. Don't hate on me, but it's my first time trying to watch F1 race. I won't get into F1. Please can anyone say where I can watch the full races? Is it live? The really lame answer to that is it depends where you are. In the UK, it is available on Sky, but it ain't cheap. I don't want to hear anybody saying it's £10 a month. It isn't, because you have to buy their basic package as well. So it's more than that. I think the basic package is £24, I think I pay for it. And then Sky, I have the full sports package because I'm a weirdo on top of that. So I pay quite a bit for it, as well as everything else. Actually, not afraid to say it, with everything we have on Sky, with BT Sport and all that business, my Sky bill is in triple digits every month. So that needs to be cut once that contract comes around for renewal in the summer. If you're watching in a territory that has it, F1 TV is available. I think that works out. It's sort of 10, 11, 12 pounds or $12 a month, something like that. So that's not too bad. There's Now TV as well in the UK, which is, I think you can get good offers on that, but it can get a bit pricey. And there are, what's the phrase I'm looking for? there are creative ways that you'll be able to find a stream in just with a quick Google. Some creative ways to find a stream on Google is what I'll say for that one. So yeah, it's not. I mean, I don't know what's Channel 4 in the UK show the highlights, but they don't always show all the highlights. So honestly, the free practice sessions could be entertaining if they got some endurance racing commentators. Those guys can talk entertaining for 4 hours through red flags after all, says Red Raven. Yeah, I feel like, and then I promise I'm wrapping up in a minute, but I feel like I don't stream enough. That's why we keep going on these, because you guys are like, let's talk. And I'm like, I want to go. I don't want to go. I need to go. But I've lost my train of thought. Yes, what was I saying? Yeah, so I feel like practice, when I've got it on in the background, is more like a podcast. It's Crofty and co. just sort of talking about things to do with F1 and random stuff. And Taylor Swift references. Oh, didn't that get miserably boring after 3? I was like, Crofty, shut up! Was my response yesterday to him. So yeah, I find it a bit podcasty. I do occasionally mute the Sky commentary and sync up the BBC commentary. I'd love to do the job, Red Raven. If they give me the job for practice but with less swearing, I'd totally do it. There's no way they'd give me it. They wouldn't. They absolutely would not. There's not a cat in hell's chance. I get overlooked for everything in the F1 space. No matter who I talk to or what I try and do, I get ignored or shafted. Not in a good way. So yeah, it's very much my channel, me, and any guest I can get on, mate. This is what I'll be until the channel inevitably disappears or dies and people stop wanting to come and listen. So I've kind of accepted that to the point where I'm looking at roles elsewhere. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I know. Thank you, Spat. I know I don't by you guys. Thank you. That it does mean the world. I'm not. Please don't think this is like Shaw's right. Shaw's now gonna have a moment where he just talks really depressingly about how crap it is at the moment in his life. But no, we're not gonna go down that route. But I know I'm not overlooked by you guys, and I really do appreciate your company. I'm talking about the wider F1 world, your big publications and streamers and what's the word I'm looking for? Not like TV. I never expect to be on TV. They're not like this voice on TV. Christ, could you imagine? It's annoying enough on a street. It's annoying enough having to live with it. But I just mean in the wider F1 space. So, but it's fine. I'm quite happy to sit here with you guys, waffling away for an hour and 40 minutes on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever, or 2 hours on a Sunday as it tends to be, and then going off and watching a bit of telly. That's just the way it is. I say telly, mostly streaming services. There's nothing on TV anymore. I do. Thank you, Casper. You sound like my mum. You have a face for the radio. I do have a face for radio. That's maybe part of the problem. Sean should not be on TV. Quick, leave. Turn the telly off. Extra Toto to protest Verstappen. Max's car was running underweight after George destroyed his side pod. That's not real. That's De Weberist just being cheeky in chat. Have you considered reaching out to F1 statistics? Who's that, Lewis? No, I know who you mean. I've spoken to them before. I'm sure I've spoken to them before. I'm sure I have. Red Raven says this is his happy place. F1 happy place. Yeah. Where I am isolated from the idiocy going on social... You isolate yourself from the idiocy of social media by coming and listening to me. Red Raven, mate, are you okay? No, I think, yeah. We're going to wrap it. I mean, social media, I'm pretty much off now anyway, other than from sharing videos, because it's just a waste of my anger and my mental health, basically. Yeah, there's that, Corp. Yeah, absolutely. That's all I'm going to say. But hey, it's just the way it is. I'm quite happy with you guys. So, and I've always said it, as long as enough of you keep watching that makes this possible for me to keep doing it, then I will always keep doing it. So that's where we are. Any final questions for a wrap up? I feel like I might as well take it to the 2 hour mark now that we're at an hour 49. But if there's nothing, I'm not going to sit here and waffle along. Is it? What does Sean and Erling Haaland have in common? We're both legends. Did you feel the sick in my voice there as I said that? As a Manchester United fan. It isn't the hair, I can tell you that. They both like to eat carrots. Oh my God. That's whatever that joke is, it's gone over my head. I'm so sorry. Horrendous. Now I'll tell you what I'll do, actually. We'll just wrap up that poll, then I'm going to ask you something and let you ponder it for a bit, because you... so rate the race. 33% of you said average. 26% said good. 21% said great. And 17% said bad. I think you are about bang on there with average. I think that's about right. I don't think it was bad. And I don't think it was great. You're entitled to your opinion, of course you are, but I think average is about right. So I was just going to float an idea. And the reason I'm going to ask it on a live stream, and I'll do it again tomorrow, is because those people who are going to watch live streams will be here today and tomorrow. So it's the right time to do it. I'm floating the idea, and it is only an idea, of moving the race reaction to a Monday evening instead of straight after the race. I'm cringing. I don't want to look at chat. Hear me out. The reasons for that, in fact, I've got a list. Hang on. It's not just me thinking off the top of my head. I've been pondering this now for a little while. So there are reasons behind it. Nothing has been confirmed. I am discussing it with you, and I will discuss it tomorrow with you, and I'll put a post out and we'll talk about it, and it won't happen anytime soon, but it would give me more time to gather post-race press releases and interviews and information, because I feel on race reaction streams, I'm saying way too much of, I've not seen that yet, I've not seen the press release, I don't know, and I'm not able to really review that properly. It also gives me a chance to watch the race back, make more comprehensive notes, and analyse major moments of the race to form a better opinion of the race. The whole point is to try and make the streams a little bit more informed, because there'll be more talking points. It'll allow me to find some new guests for the show for me to chat to, because it's getting hard. It's getting really hard to find guests now that I've lost a number of the regulars, in air quotes, if you want to call them that. So maybe I could get some. I know there are a couple of journalists I've spoken to who would love to come on, but they can't after a race, because, as I'm sure you can appreciate, they're super bloody busy after a Grand Prix. So it might be able to get some people that are actually on the ground or have been on the ground over there for a bit more of an informed take there. Will give me more time to prepare the stream so that I can look for more relevant photos, for example, although not anytime soon because of the financial situation, unless somebody's got a free £1,000 they want to send my way so I can sort my life out. I don't know. That's a joke. Please do not. What was I going to say? Yeah, I do want to eventually sort of go a bit more face cam for live streams, but that's a little bit down the line yet. And also, the FIA may well have published the race results by the time I go live on Monday evening. You never know. I wouldn't be competing with F1's post-race streams and Ted's notebooks and bigger, more popular streams and podcasts, for example. There would be a consistent time for the streams, so they would be, for example, 7 p.m. BST on a Monday. It won't be an hour and a half after the race, but that depends on when the race finishes. It will be 7 p.m. every Monday after a race weekend, for example. It would allow me to enjoy the race a bit more. I've put in here on a personal note. And it might allow me as well, and I might look into it, of doing a pre-race look ahead on a Sunday morning. So there's still a stream on a Sunday. So those were just sort of my reasons behind the idea, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do it, okay? That is all going to come to... I will talk to you all again tomorrow for those that are going to be here. We've got a few more people here, basically. I'll run through that again, and then I'll put a post out on Monday and a poll, and you guys will decide. And whatever the decision, even if it's a Brexit, whatever the decision, yes, Space, I miss him, bless him. I'll come to that in a second, but whatever the decision will be what we will do. So there we go. So the new format could be a pre-race stream on a Sunday morning, and then probably call it the debrief again on a Monday evening. I did think about doing both, a reaction and debrief, but then I'm just repeating what I said in the debrief, in the reaction in the debrief, and that's why I stopped doing the review videos, because it just, I repeat myself a lot, but I don't like doing it about things from races. So that was my thinking. That was all very long-winded, I know. And yes, I do, Space, massively miss him, because he was keeping the channel above water towards the end of last year. But I am not going to complain, because I know the figure, but I'm not going to tell you the amount he sent over the last couple of years. It is ridiculous, and I will be forever grateful for everything he's done to support this channel. But it is a miss, a big miss. That's it. I'm not going to lie to you. That's exactly where I'm at with it. Couple quick reactions to it then. Red Raven, 50-50 on that, honestly. On one hand, these reactions feel like my debrief, and I like this just in feeling. On the other hand, if it works better, go for it. Definitely, yeah, the debrief is a nice name, actually, to be fair. Johnny says, good idea. Nobody's died. Oh, for God's sake. I just realised, no, it's right. Max just saying, what do you mean by lost regulars? They're not dead. For goodness sake, no. I'm not announcing that on stream. Just people who would be here a lot now either can't be here very often for streams, or they can't at all, because I'm not going to name names. It's not fair on them. That's up to them. But we're all still in contact. We're all still good friends. There's nothing weird there. They just can't commit to it anymore. So, and it's difficult to find regulars. We've got Will, bless him, coming back to listen to me for 2.5 hours tomorrow. So, Black Emergence says, do what's best for you. That is generally what I try and do. But with these, because these have been such a staple of the channel for the last nearly 7 years this November, I think it'll be, I kind of feel like it needs to be your decision. Beth says, yes, please. Space says, yeah, makes sense. I would prefer it as it won't take up as much time on race day. That's the other thing. If you've watched a Grand Prix weekend and you've got 3 practice sessions, qualifying, and then you've watched the race for 2-3 hours if we've had red flags, and then you're coming to me, do you really want to listen to me for 2.5 hours after the race? Probably not. Nick says Monday will be great. Corpse says that'd be good. Vashek says yes, please. Dan says yes. So quite a lot of people saying yes in the chat. Del says boo. If anything, it should be sooner after the race. I should be before the flag even drops. Jonty says that was interesting. What did you make of the race, Jonty? I don't know if you've just dropped back in, mate. But let me know what the general consensus here was. It was average. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just average. The first half was pretty exciting, wasn't it? We had a bit of carnage early on, but it sort of did what sprints do, I guess, and petered out a little bit. Red Raven says, yeah, but at the same time, it's your channel, your rules. Just, sorry if that sounds rude. No, not at all. Stick with it, unlike the Formula E channel idea a few years ago. The Formula E channel idea, I rapidly realised I didn't enjoy Formula E. What's the problem with that? That was literally it. I had permission to use highlights, as I'm sure you remember, and driver interviews and all of that sort of stuff, and I rapidly realised I didn't really enjoy it at that stage. I don't mind it, but it's not worth me putting any passion into it like I do with Formula One, because that's that, really. Do you think they should have Friday sprint shootout, Saturday sprint, and race quali and Sunday race? So I think we're on the same page here, Oliver. I like the idea of FP1 Friday morning, sprint shootout Friday afternoon, sprint race Saturday morning, race quali Saturday afternoon, then the race on Sunday. So I think we're on the same page there. I like that. It feels like the weekend builds. If that each session becomes a little bit more important as the weekend goes on, right up to that big race on Sunday. So I like that idea. You need to do what you need to do to make you happier. A happy Sean makes better content. Do you know what else Sean needs to do? Right, before I go, I'm going to say it. This is the last time I'm saying before I go. It's like the 30th time I said it. I'm still here half an hour later. One thing I need to do is I need to stop, biting at knobheads in chat and on social media, 2, stay off social media. But I also need to stop trying to cover my arse all the time and worry about making everyone happy. Because what I say on streams might seem like I'm just saying what I want, but I'm very cautious. And often what I'll say when a stream stops, ask anybody, ask Jonty, ask Will, ask Stuart or Dan. What I say in Discord afterwards is a lot more than what I say on stream, but I don't do it because I'm worried about upsetting people, when actually I shouldn't really care what other people think, because at the end of the day, guys, with all due respect, you choose to click on a video on opinions channel, you're going to get my opinion. Should be my attitude, and if you don't like it, don't watch it. John, I know what Sean needs to do. Listen to Jonty. If I listen, God knows where I'd be if I listened to Jonty. Possibly in prison. I'm joking. Fairly mundane race, says Jonty. Definitely George's fault, but Max being his usual self about it. Cannot wait for turn 2 tomorrow. Ha 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 ha. Or was that more of a ha 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 ha? Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'm going to do it now. This channel's called the F one word for a reason, mate. See, Red Raven knows why the channel's called what it is. That's a channel OG and why it's called that way. Thank you very much. I am actually ending it there now. That is it. We are done. I will be back. I love you all. Thank you very much for your support. Like I said, I've seen you in chat. It means a hell of a lot. So I will be back tomorrow. I will not sing. Back tomorrow for the race reaction to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Like I say, for the 4th time, I've got Will with me tomorrow. Just need to check with him, double check with him. We'll be with you for a couple of hours, about an hour to an hour and a half after the race, depending how things go. And we will... I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be a good race, and strategy tomorrow as well to talk about. So that should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we're gearing up for Miami, so there's lots to come. But yeah, have a ponder about that idea I threw to you and floated. I'll remind you all of it tomorrow, and those that come in tomorrow for the stream, and then I'll pop a poll out on Monday, and we'll decide from there. But no, I mean, no decision will be. Miami will be what it is as normal. There'll be no changes there because it's too late to be making those changes. But maybe as we get back into the European run, or maybe we'll change it at the summer break. We'll see. But yes, please do follow me on social media for what it's worth. I do share my videos over there, so it's like a notification feed, I guess. But I don't really tweet a lot because it's not worth the headache for a lot of reasons. You can support the channel through Patreon. There you go. I remember to plug it. And don't forget to drop a like as well and subscribe before you disappear. It'd be great to have you with us on the journey. But as ever, thank you for watching this waffly sprint watch along. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 word. And until next time, goodbye.